let's have some thoughts on the final episode last night of Teaching the Chinese Way, and if you haven't watched it yet, you need to close your ears now. We've been following this each week. It was on BBC Two again last night at 9 o'clock when the youngsters at Bohunt School in Liphook some of them have been put in a special class where all the teachers are from China, where suddenly you find you're doing many, many more hours at school, much more homework, physical education where you get marked on whether you can run around the racetrack, and many other things besides. Last week's episode was tears before bedtime for the Chinese teachers who were at their wits' ends, and lots of badly behaved pupils, and then parents turning up for a parents-teachers evening where they got a bit of a lecture from the headmaster. Last night, this is the bit you don't want to hear if you've not seen it yet, was actually a success story for the Chinese teachers at the school in Liphook, because they outscored the English or the UK way of teaching. Dr. Steve Curran from AE Tuition, who's been having a chat with us each week, is back on the show. Steve, I want to thank you for doing this, because you're actually on holiday in Italy, aren't you?
I'm away at the moment, yes.
Yeah, so look, thank you for being there. I should got you to do world weather, shouldn't I, really? So I know you haven't caught the show, but we were just giving you a briefing off air. When they did the marking at the end of last night's show, the Chinese way beat the British way in all subjects. What's your reaction?
Actually, it doesn't surprise me to some extent, because they were spending longer teaching them, and some of it was getting through, wasn't it?
Surprisingly, bearing in mind where we were a week ago. And also, I noticed that the youngsters actually applaud. There's some tears actually from the youngsters who'd been through it, of appreciation.
I think they were probably admiring the tenacity and the patience of these teachers, because they wouldn't give up, would they? Which,
no.
I have to say, I was very moved by that myself, in that they were, although they were angry at times and they were tearful, they were very tenacious, and they just kept at it, which I think is admirable, really.
Now, the headmaster, in his speech at the end of the show last night, says, is there something, maybe there is something that here in the UK we can learn from this, which is a different take from where he was earlier in the experiment, where he wasn't that keen on the way they were teaching the youngsters. So do you think this programme could have some effect on discussions going on about how we teach our children?
Well, the first thing is, there were three things for me. Firstly, their expectations were higher. They just would not, accept a lower standard, and I think that's important. And secondly, I think our kids are behind, and we can't deny that. Their sort of statistics are saying 3 years behind. It's true, we're way down in the tables on maths, numeracy and literacy across the world. So I think, and their attitude to education as well, their belief that this is really important. That's something our kids just don't really get.
And Steve, on a morning when in the papers here in the UK, which you might not know, British school children are unhappier than their counterparts in Ethiopia and Algeria, because they are bullied, left out by peers and under pressure to look good, according to a 10-year study. So that seems to be all about impressions and how people are treated, not about how they're learning.
Yes, I think the value systems in our two countries, in China and here, are so different. And again, I think it comes down to education being a right that you can throw away here, whereas in China it's a privilege. They view it very differently, and the reasons for that, I think, are very deep, because obviously people in our two countries have attitudes which, are about wealth, perhaps. And okay, Chinese people are becoming more wealthy, but you don't get handouts in China. There is no safety net here.
Well, as one of the Chinese teachers said, I think last week, or maybe on the first week, part of the problem is the benefit system. That's their view, I might add, but that's what they said, didn't they? Final thought from you, Steve. Penny says, I'm looking at some emails on the show now, what came across to me, and the pupils agreed, the children were craving discipline and guidance. Even the cheekiest children did realise that with the can-do approach, confidence came and they succeeded. Wonder what you think about that.
Yes, well, yes, I think so. I think again, the expectations of teachers that we can do it is something which, I just find that as a teacher, many children, sort of gave up straight away, really, and often poor behaviour masked the fact that they were failing, weren't really achieving at their very best.
Steve, but I do think, go on. Yeah, we're out of time.
I think.
Go on.
The one thing I think I would like to say is really that I think we need to fix this in primary education, not in secondary education. I do believe that if we build good foundations further down, then children will have less problems later on. And I really believe that's the thing that we need to change in Britain.
Thanks for giving us your views. I'm very grateful. Steve Curran, on holiday, what can I say? Taking time out to talk to me. I'm very grateful. It's an hour ahead, though, there, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's not so bad here.
Okay.
It's 9:15.
Yeah, great stuff.
Really nice to talk to you.
Cheers, mate.
And, thank you.
Dr.
Bye-bye.
Steve Curran from AE Tuition with his take on the final episode of Teaching Children the Chinese Way last night on BBC Two.